Hello everyone, and welcome to QUTV After Hours. I'm Courtney Gear, and today we'll be discussing some important local and national issues. Joining me is QUTV's Jack Jones, Allison Malone, and Andrew McCulloch.
Thanks, Courtney. It's hard to avoid college basketball this time of year because it's March Madness time and the tournament has everyone filling out brackets. Avid fans get into it, casual fans get into it, and even people who don't follow sports get into it, for hopes of getting a perfect bracket. Are you guys filling out brackets this year? If so, who do you think is going to take home the prize?
Well, I know that I've already filled out the bracket in the cafeteria for Chartwell, so that is my first bracket, but I am rooting for my Wisconsin Bucks, going back home with that.
All right, how about you, Jack?
Well, I didn't fill out a bracket, but I did pick one team that I thought was going to go all the way, and that was Northeastern, and unfortunately, they've already lost. So I am done with March Madness.
That's right, Notre Dame beating Northeastern, there, 69-65. Tough loss for them. I have Kentucky winning it this year. Kentucky is the team that everybody is really looking for this year. They went 34-0. That's the first time that anyone's gone undefeated since 1976, and it was Indiana that did it last. How about you, Allison?
I actually like Butler. I want to see Butler take it home. Before, a couple of years ago, they were underdog. They made it to the championship. They ended up losing. That was a really sad, upset moment for them. So I want to see them make a comeback and win it this year.
And we do have a few upsets so far. Iowa State, a third seed, losing to UAB 60-59, and we also have Georgia State beating Butler, also a 14 seed, beating a 3 seed by a final score of 57-56. So that's just kind of how things have gone underway so far for the NCAA tournament, and I'm sure all students are looking forward to the action as it goes on this coming March.
All right, and now for some surprising or shocking news from Illinois Representative Aaron Schock, who announced his resignation Tuesday due to suspicions about his personal travel spending. Schock essentially billed the federal government and his campaign for logging roughly 170,000 miles on his personal car over the past 4 years. Politico began looking into the situation and, after raising questions about the reimbursements, the pressure became too much. This leaves citizens of Illinois to wonder where their dollars are going and the ethics behind those in office. So for you guys, how big of an impact do you feel this situation creates?
I think it's something, anytime you have someone in the government spending money on different kind of things, like vacation time or just things that, he wants to spend it on, it kind of brings the question of what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel it makes the state look bad. We already don't have a good track record of political figures doing the correct thing, as a number of former governors are in prison right now for doing illegal action. So it's not helping the situation.
I agree.
Now, what if we have also learned that Schock has reimbursed the monies that he had spent for the election and for all of his travel spending? So how do you guys feel about that? Do you feel that benefits the situation? Allison?
To a certain extent. It's just sad that he did it in the first place. He spent all the money in the first place, but to a certain extent, yes.
I'd have to agree with Allison on that, yeah.
I agree as well.
All right. And just some of the things that he has, he's gone to pricey hotels, pricey restaurants, and he's had his own private jet. So just some things to think about when you're in that political position that does influence what your representatives think of you.
Earlier this month, there was a video posted online which showed a University of Oklahoma fraternity singing a racist chant. This video was posted to YouTube and received more than 700,000 views within 8 days. As a result of the video, the fraternity was suspended and ordered to vacate the campus. 2 students were identified as the leader of the chant and were expelled. Now the fraternity has hired attorney Stephen Jones, who defended Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh in order to attempt to get their fraternity reinstated. What do you guys think about this? Did they get overpunished, and should they be allowed to have their fraternity on campus?
Well, I know for me personally, I'm a part of 2 academic fraternities, and so it really hurts me to be hearing about these situations. And I know that, of course, afterwards, people are going to be getting the bad rep for, being in a fraternity or being a part of anything like this because they automatically get associated with it. What do you guys think as non-fraternity members?
I believe that it's sad that we had to see this. It's obvious that racism is still alive, and a lot of people like to kick it under the rug. But to see these young, educated, supposed to be educated, students chanting this is very, very, very saddening. So,
I agree. I think that America is the land of second chances, I guess, as you could say, or people deserve opportunities to better themselves. But for this, this kind of just appalled me. I don't really tolerate racism really at all. I think it's kind of sad what happened, and I don't really think that they should be reinstated. But that's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
It's definitely one of those situations that we'll have to wait and see in time how things will play out for that fraternity then.
right.
So coming up, we'll tell you about a story that is out of this world. QUTV's After Hours. We'll be right back.
Yes. Growing up, I had one deaf friend, and that was the only deaf person I knew before coming to school here at QU. And now I regularly get to hang out and socialize with the deaf community, which has been awesome. Sign language isn't exactly like learning another spoken language because you use your body, facial expressions, your hands are your instruments. So it is definitely learning a new language. It has its own grammar and syntax and everything. It's not exactly like English like a lot of people think it is.
QUTV is more than a news outlet.
1 in 5 undergrads work at least 35 hours a week year-round.
Students involved with QUTV learn life lessons, create lasting memories, and gain the experience needed to succeed in future careers. Students need to be involved with QUTV as a viewer or as a participant because we need to know what's going on around our campus. Knowledge is powerful, and QUTV News serves to inform not only the students, but the Quincy University community as a reliable and powerful news network.
Welcome back. Allison, you've been working on a pretty bizarre story about a potential trip to Mars. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yes. Picture living on the planet Mars and never coming back. A female Duke University student is one of the 100 finalists for a one-way trip to Mars. Laurel Kay has signed up to be part of Mars One, which is a foundation that wants to establish a permanent human settlement on Mars. Thousands have registered and only a few will be selected. What are you guys' thoughts? How do you think we'll ever make it to Mars, and would you ever consider going to Mars?
My thoughts on it, I think it's really interesting. It's crazy to me that a university student who's so young would choose to want to go to Mars because really the intention is you're never going to be able to make it back. Would I do it? Probably not. Are we ever going to get there? I think maybe it's possible, but probably not within my lifetime. So what do you guys think of that?
I think it's a cool experiment that they're doing, but I feel like there's going to be people they select and they're going to be on the trip there and they're going to realize, I should not have done this. I should have stayed. And so I could never, ever do that. I would be one of those people who realize I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. I know, and for a one-way ticket, it's really, you have to understand what it implements, starting a new settlement, having to know who is going with you, having to be able to connect with those people. So it's definitely something that people would need to consider if they ever would want to do that.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me. I mean, I would never do it, of course. It's one way, and I would miss my family, my friends. But in general, I think it's an interesting concept to do. I feel like I would imagine they would have to do some type of psychological test to make sure that they'll be able to go, because that is a lot on them. But overall, very interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with astronomy and outer space and stuff like that. And I saw the movie Interstellar, and it was kind of similar to what is going on here. They would have to go to out in space. They'd have to find potential planets where they could find like settlement on, because the Earth was going to, it wasn't going to make it for much longer. So the whole thing just kind of reminds me of that, and I don't know, I've always just been kind of fascinated by the idea of space and stuff.
I'm sure that sci-fi fiction is going to scare a lot of people out of going on some trip
Yeah.
like that. Now, switching gears from another planet to news right here in Quincy. Over the past year, Quincy has experienced several stores closing and restaurants closing as well because of their sales. Many of the stores closing down have been around in Quincy since the 1900s. The more popular stores include TGI Fridays, JCPenney, and Deb in the Mall, Radio Shack, and the popular Steak and Shake. Plans for new stores to move in are already starting, including a Factory Connection clothing store coming to the mall this spring. What stores would you guys like to see added to the area that would fit in with Quincy's size and the location?
Well, as someone that's always lived in Quincy, I've never really understood why we don't have like a Target or like a seafood place to eat, like a Red Lobster or like a Joe's Crab Shack or something like that. But I also read an interesting thing today off of Facebook. I think the Quincy Journal wrote that Steak and Shake is trying to get back into Quincy, but they don't know where they will settle at. And I just thought that would be really nice because a lot of people enjoy it. I'm kind of surprised to hear that their sales were down, but I guess, I mean, we had like Texas Roadhouse that came in, and that's a huge hit. So I feel like if something like even an Olive Garden, Red Lobster would come in, that would get huge sales in Quincy because it's something that we don't have in like a radius around our town. So.
Allison, what do you think?
I feel like we should get more closed shopping centers. I mean, it's hard for a woman out here in Quincy. You have to go all the way to either Springfield or, St. Louis. So it's really hard to find clothes. We don't have that much of an option, I'm sure, for males as well. But I would like to see that more.
Yeah. Jack, what do you think?
Well, I actually heard, or I seen on Facebook actually, that they are considering bringing a Golden Corral back to Quincy, and which would be good because all these things are closing, so we need something new to replace them. And if I could bring anything, I'd bring a Chick-fil-A. There's not one anywhere remotely close. We gotta go a couple hours away just to get it. I think it'd do great here. Many people probably haven't even experienced it, so they just go there to try something new, and then they probably like it and continue to go there.
So would it be a positive benefit to maybe do some sort of survey or group insight, maybe with the student body, especially since a lot of students aren't from, the Quincy area? So that might be something to consider as well.
Could be.
Yeah. Finally, we want to wish the QU mock trial team good luck as they travel to Memphis, Tennessee to compete in the opening round of the American Mock Trial Association National Championship Tournament. We caught up with Julie Holner and decided to ask her about the tournament.
Yeah, to just be in a competition, go up against these, top-ranking schools who have, huge political science departments, who have huge mock trial teams with tryouts and whatnot. Quincy University is a small liberal arts school, but we're going to go in there and we're going to have fun and we're going to be competitive.
That's going to do it for this episode of QUTV After Hours. Thanks for joining us. And for all of us here at QUTV, we'll see you next week with a new campus news update.